I picked up this journal at Michael's for $1.99, and it actually worked just perfect for this little project. I'm using a 12 by 12 piece of patterned paper. I will take it to my paper trimmer and trim it to just a little teeny bit over 7 inches. I knew that I needed just a little bit of wiggle room in case I didn't get that paper applied exactly straight. That way I would have just a little bit of area where I could trim off anything that was overhanging. I'm going to score that paper at about 5 1/8, maybe 5 1/4 inches, taking in consideration the depth of the journal. It could have even gone at 6 inches just because I had the 12 inches of the pattern paper to work with. I'm going to fold it at that score line and get ready to start applying some double-sided adhesive tape. I'm going to be using some really wide double-sided tape. It's just quicker than using thin strips. I think this is about 2, maybe 2 1/4 inches wide. It is the Sukwing brand. I like that brand just because I know how strong it is and how permanent it is. So I'm going to start at the top of my paper and just kind of place my adhesive strips down and then trim them off and just go all the way across until I have enough paper covered that will cover my little journal. I had originally started covering the journal and quickly realized that was going to be a lot more difficult than just placing the adhesive on the paper and then doing the trimming of the paper once I had it adhered to my journal. I'm going to give it a good press right here on that score line. And then I'm going to start peeling that adhesive protecting tape back. I'm not going to peel off the entire tape. If you do that, you're going to have a sticky mess on your hands. So I'm going to start on that right hand side and peel each one of those little tape pieces back, maybe about halfway down that piece of paper. I'll go all the way across, and then I'm going to lay my journal on top of that paper. And once I have that placed, then I'll go ahead and kind of reach up underneath the loose paper and pull out the rest of those strips. Now that I have the paper adhered, I'm going to go around the edges with my scissors and just kind of trim off that excess paper. There shouldn't be a whole lot of paper left over. Of course, you could always cut your 12 by 12 paper a little bit wider if you want more room to work with. I just thought the 7 inches or the 7 1/8 inches was just enough to work with. Now you can go ahead and apply your washi tape at the bottom and at the top of your journal. Be extra careful putting that washi tape on. I always forget how fragile it is, so I kind of ripped it when I went around that center binding piece and had to kind of go back in and fix it a little bit. I used some glue, and then a little bit later I had some kind of matte transparent tape that I kind of fixed it with also. I also reinforced the top one at that point, just because that spine kind of gets a little bit of use just with the opening and the closing of the journal. I decided that I wanted to tie my little journal closed. I thought that would just be a really nice little touch. So I'm going to measure to the halfway point on the short side of the journal and make a mark on both sides. And then I'm going to use my little eyelet setter. I think it's some kind of chomper. I'm not sure what the technical term is. And go ahead and place some eyelets in those little holes. I had some really cute flower eyelets from a long time ago, when eyelets were the big thing, and I decided they would be just perfect for this journal. I get really nervous doing eyelets. I can't tell you how many times I've kind of messed things up because I over squish them, and then they're kind of rough and icky on the bottom. But I just crossed my fingers on this one, and they turned out okay. I had a spool of jute on my work surface, so I decided that I would use that, but you could almost use anything. I think lace would look really cute, or even some little twine would look great with this. I've cut out the letters using Riley's ABCs out of red cardstock. I think it was Red Barn. And I'm going to go ahead, I've got them laid out on my work surface. I kind of use the grid on my work surface to get them straight. And then I use a temporary tape just to kind of tape that down so that they stay in place. I'll flip that over, put a little bit of glue on those letters, and then I will place them down on my journal, kind of centered at the bottom. I'm going to give those a little bit of time to set up before I start peeling off that yellow tape, just because experience has taught me if you do that too soon, your letters seem to start sliding because you've used wet glue, and then all of a sudden all that work getting them lined up is kind of for naught. So be a little bit patient right here. I use the stitch scallop circle frames to cut out my frame of the gingham, and then I also use that same die to cut out a piece of eggshell cardstock. The center piece that's left after you use that die is perfect to fit in to the center of whatever other piece you're using, if that makes any sense. So I had the gingham frame, and then by cutting the speckled eggshell one, I had the inside of that fit perfectly inside of the gingham frame. I also went ahead and just distressed the edges of that with a little bit of Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. I had already laid out my letters for that little piece inside my little pencil holder, so I'm going to stamp those down on some speckled eggshell cardstock, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim that with just maybe 1/8 of an inch on the outside of those letters. Once I get done doing that, I will place that on a piece of light brown wood grain cardstock, and then trim that with 1/8 of an inch all the way around that. And that just kind of makes a nice little sign. In retrospect, I think I would have preferred to have stamped it directly on the journal, but I was too afraid to try to do that with just using the letters on a hand stamp. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get that adhered well enough, and I didn't want to mess up that cover, and I wasn't sure that the journal would fit in my MISTI, even with the paper and the little pad removed. So I decided to be safe and make a sign. All right, I made enough veggies for my little pencil holder. along with this journal. I used some Copic markers to kind of shade around the edges of those vegetables. I would have preferred using Distress Oxide ink. That's usually what I use to do my shading. But I had some problems when I was working on the little pencil box with the Distress Oxide ink just kind of disappearing once I put the Mod Podge on it. So in order to keep everything kind of uniform, I just used the Copic markers. But again, if I were to do this again, just the journal, I would definitely just use the Distress Oxide inks. They just do the best shading. And now we're going to finish decorating the front of this little journal. I wanted to center that little tag or little sign up at the top. So I'm just using my little centering ruler to make sure I've got that in the right spot. I'll get that adhered down. I'll go ahead and glue down my little scallop frame with the centerpiece. And then I'm just going to try to figure out how I like those little vegetables in the center there. And I will get those glued down. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure out which way I like them best, to make sure that their little faces show and that they're kind of balanced on the journal cover. To make my little washi tape decorated paper clips, I took a piece of washi tape about 6 to 7 inches long, and I laid in a piece of 22 gauge wire about 3 inches long from maybe the left side, and then I just folded that washi tape over on top of itself. Then I fed it in through the top end of the paper clip and just kind of pinched it and gave it a a slight twist so that it stays in place. I'm not twisting it like, a twist tie on a plastic baggie. The washi tape is not going to hold up to that kind of pressure. These are probably more for cosmetic appearances as opposed to functionality. I just thought they were really cute and they added a nice touch to the whole journal and pencils and pencil holder set. So, like I said, they are not super durable, but they are super cute. Okay, I think that pretty much does it for the journal and the little paper clips. It was kind of fun getting out of the card making mode for a little bit. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. You can hit subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. You can follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdill or on my blog, A Little Bit of Glitter. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.